I 100% support Maga. I voted for Trump 3 times. I'm a lifelong Republican, and I absolutely support these No Kings protests this weekend. Don't go anywhere. Let me tell you why. First off, I expect that this version 2.0 of the No Kings protest is going to be larger than the first round because there is a direct correlation between the outrage by Democrats and leftists and President Donald Trump's successes, of which he's been having a ton as of late. This is why I hope every single voting Democrat goes out and takes part in these protests on Saturday, because I would much rather have them out there wasting precious time, wasting energy, yelling and screaming, spending money on making signs. I'd rather have them doing all of that than going out and actually spending time supporting Democrat candidates. I'd rather have them out wasting time this weekend than going and door knocking for candidates or giving money or making phone calls for candidates. So yes, by all means, as many Democrats as possible, go do your ridiculous No Kings protests. Go expend all that energy, because a lot of them, a majority of them, are going to walk away from that protest going, look at us, we did great. Look at how many of us there were. We did our part, and then they're going to be done. So by all means, go protest. You'll accomplish a lot. Really, you will. Because I'd rather have you doing that than supporting your awful Democrat candidates.
I had a conversation with my stepdad today who voted for Donald Trump, who cannot afford health insurance without the ACA tax credits. I said, hey, Pa, you know the whole reason the government is shut down right now is because Democrats want to extend these ACA tax credits. He said, wait, I thought it was about illegal immigrants. And I said, no. And I Googled right in front of him. I showed him that undocumented migrants, they can't qualify for Medicare or Medicaid. I explained to him that the ACA tax credits, which he's familiar with, he knows what they are because he knows it's what brings his premiums down. I said, those are set to expire. And I showed it all right in front of him. Now, my stepfather, he's not an ignorant guy. He's just not informed because he does watch Fox News, Newsmax, OAN. He looks at me, he said, why didn't they tell us? Like, why is the news media outlets not telling us? And I said, they don't want to tell you because it'll make them look bad. Now he's worried about his premiums doubling. And I said, Pa, let me show you something. I opened up Ground News right here and I said, see this? There are 133 news media outlets reporting on the fact that your health insurance premiums are going to double. Only 4% of that is right-wing news media outlets. And his jaw dropped. He looked like he'd been betrayed. And I said, dude, I'm going to get you a Ground News subscription right now. And I showed him this feature right here. It says blind spot. I said, Pa, look at this. If you toggle this on, blind spot for the right, you will be able to see every single story that OAN, Newsmax, and Fox News is not telling you. Thing is, people like my pa and those who are voting against their own best interests aren't doing so because they don't like themselves. It's because the information is not getting in front of them because they have chosen to listen to one news media outlet. And that's why I like Ground News. It helps you, especially the older community, snope through the biases and get all the information in one place. If this is something that interests you, hit this link right here, visit it, or you can go to the link in my bio for 40% off their unlimited access Vantage plan. It's the best thing I've ever done to help deprogram my MAGA father. My name is Mercedes Chandler. Give me a follow or you won't see my face again. Thank you. Goodbye.
MAGA is furious with Donald Trump, and the Trump Watch is the reason, as they're calling the whole thing a scam. Now, if you missed it, Donald Trump is selling a line of watches that he calls the Trump Watch, and he promises it's of the highest quality, made in Switzerland, and it will cost you anywhere from $500 up to the price of a Rolex. Well, Trump supporters that have bought the watch are disappointed, saying that the whole thing is a scam, and the biggest complaint, they never received the watch, which is what we could have told you. It's exactly what we would have predicted. Ask anybody who bought the Trump shoes. Ask charitable organizations that worked with Trump Foundation or the students at Trump University. This is who Donald Trump is. Time and time again, the people who do business with him walk away with the short end of the stick. We tried to warn you, both in his business and political life, of who he is. So for any MAGA or Trump supporter out there that bought the Trump watch and feels like they got scammed, it's on you.
This could all be over within 2 weeks. We could have Donald Trump gone, everything they've done reversed. Hell, we could have a national health care system and free public college. We could have socialism if we wanted it. We would just have to stop going to work. We need a general strike, not a little block party on Saturday, a general strike where we say we're not going back to work until we get what we want. And it wouldn't even take everyone. It would take like 5% of us. And people go, oh, well, they'll just fire us. I need my job. They can't fire everyone. If everyone did it, they can't fire us. They'd have to play by our rules. We could get anything we want. You should still go to No Kings. You should. It's important. But it's less than the bare minimum, and it's not going to do a goddamn thing. They're not going to listen to us. We need sustained, massive protests the size of No Kings and a general strike. And we could get anything we want. Literally.
Maga, I used to be Maga. I need you to fucking listen. We lost freedom of the press yesterday. Our First Amendment right, which guarantees a fair and free press, was taken away. Yesterday, October 15th, 2025, Pete Hegseth gave demands to all of these journalists and companies in the Pentagon saying, hey, you have to adhere by the rules of this state-approved media or else you can't be in here, you can't report. Every single company said, that's not free and fair press, and resigned. Those people are heroes because they're standing up to this authoritarian regime. Now, even his former employer, Fox News, which notoriously is known for leaning right, said, yeah, this is too far. And they walked out as well. MAGA, I know you claim that you want to have free speech. My question to you is, do you still believe in that claim? Because if you do, you cannot support what this administration is doing. It is a very, very blatant disregard for our First Amendment. And that's why they're coming for our speech and freedom of the press and freedom of assembly because of this reason. If they can get rid of the First Amendment in our Constitution, they can get rid of all of it. The First Amendment is the most important one because once that one goes, the rest can go just as easy, if not easier. Which is why we must stand up to this fuck-ass regime. Like, comment, and follow for more news.
Listen, I traded in my MAGA hat for an America First one, and I still have people in the comments saying, well, what about Kamala Harris? It doesn't even matter who won, because the end goal was always the same. Mass surveillance, control, and selling you the illusion of choice. In fact, I wish I hadn't even voted at all. Because if you're still wearing a MAGA hat, you might as well be wearing a kippah. Every single president sold this country out, Trump included. The one who didn't kiss the wall got assassinated, and people still don't see the pattern. Trump said he's draining the swamp. He became the swamp. They marketed rebellion. Now, the same people who screamed about censorship are doing it themselves and calling it winning. Cheering for the same control you said you hated back in 2020. The only winner is Big Brother. You're being played. And if you've ever heard of the horseshoe theory, it goes so far either left or right you end up in the same place. Controlled. That's literally the Matrix. That's the box. No one is saving this country until people stop fighting over the choices they let you have. That's the real rebellion. When you finally dig through every lie, every rabbit hole, you'll find that the truth was never political. It was always Jesus. The same system that crucified him is the same system running the world right now. Nothing's changed but the faces. This is good versus evil. So wake up, because they're not after your vote anymore. And if you're not awake, then they're after your soul without you even knowing it.
I think that these are the times that the Second Amendment was written for.
Damn.
And when you have a government, a tyrannical government that is taking over the streets and not abiding by the Constitution, that's the whole idea what the Second Amendment was written for. That's what's happening right now. So I'm surprised the right wing isn't up in arms saying, oh my gosh, we have a tyrannical government that has military out on the streets against its own citizens. We need to believe in the Second Amendment. We need to believe in states' rights. What happened to smaller government? What happened to don't get into my business? Let me deal with my business because I'm a conservative. There They're the ones who would be outraged. Imagine if this was on the left. What the hell would be happening? So I say perhaps people who are having to deal with this, the least of these, the citizens who are being scooped up, the American citizens who are being scooped up, perhaps they need to really figure out what the Second Amendment is really about and go out and do it legally and purchase some things, because you never know when someone's going to come to your house and knock on the door and try to take you away, even if you're an American citizen. And I know it's happening because I interviewed people in Chicago who it happened to, and I know that they're American citizens because I saw their passports, their government IDs, and their social security cards. And when you came to their house, you didn't want to see it. I'm just saying.
This video is hard to watch, but it's the perfect example of what's become normalized in Trump's America. A MAGA woman goes up to a man she doesn't know and tells him to go home and that she doesn't want him in her country. Look at this.
What? You need to go home.
I am from here.
Look it. Go home.
I am here from here.
Go home. I don't care about your Facebook or your video.
Oh, okay. You're
Do you
making
know
a
how
racist
many
comment
people
right
can't
now?
stand you being
Oh,
here?
great.
You play games. We don't play games.
Oh, what kind of game are you playing?
I play games where you get fucked to death.
Oh, okay.
Did you hear what she said at the end there? I mean, what is that even supposed to mean? But as the guy mentions in the video, he was born in the United States. This kind of hate doesn't come from patriotism. It comes from ignorance and years of indoctrination. When somebody believes they have ownership over a country that was built by immigrants, they expose how little they understand about what America actually stands for. But that woman's behavior and hatred is the product of years of political indoctrination coming from no other than Donald Trump. He's normalized cruelty, demonized immigrants, and pushed this idea that America is under siege by outsiders. When people are constantly being told that immigrants are criminals or invaders, they start seeing their neighbors as enemies instead of fellow human beings, and that is Trump's goal. His words have power, and they've radicalized people who would have never expressed this type of hate before. When you refer to people as animals or call them poison to the blood of this country, that gives others the excuse to act out of hate and, of course, defend all state violence against them. It becomes acceptable or even patriotic to insult, harass, and attack people based on how they look.
And so a few days ago, I saw a video that was posted by a woman on here, and she was asking those of us on the left, she was like, okay, well, for people who are waking up from MAGA, what is it that they're going to have to show you, or at what point are they going to be embraced and shown compassion? And I think that she was asking that question out of good faith. I mean, I don't know at the end of the day, but regardless, I'm going to give a good faith answer. And so when it comes to conservatives, from what I understand, from what I see, a lot of conservatives are operating from a desire for approval, for praise, for additional caregiving, which are not bad things in and of themselves, but the method by which y'all try and get those things is part of the problem. I think that a lot of MAGA, truthfully, are not really buying what the party is selling, but they understand to some extent that there would be a quote-unquote higher likelihood of having some level of proximity to what they believe to be care, even though we all know that it actually isn't. And so when it comes to shifting your mindset, escaping and waking up from MAGA, I actually do think that a lot of y'all need to, one, dispose yourselves of the idea that you are going to be trusted or that you are going to be accepted. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to be standing up for human rights means standing up for human rights, even if it means that the people around you are not going to approve, or the people around you are going to reject you, or even inflict some level of harm or violence against you. Advocating for human rights actually isn't about you at all, but is about the people who are being impacted by the most vile systems in our societies. And I think that when it comes to, this sort of like transience that can exist for people who are waking up from MAGA, I find that, of course, like there's a lot of embarrassment that some people feel once they realize that the party or like the politicians or the leaders that they were aligning themselves with are actually in opposition to the values that they hold, right? And I think that with that embarrassment, so many people who are waking up from MAGA, instead of really grappling and really sitting with those feelings, they try to look for additional distractions, right? They avoid, and some of that avoidance looks again like people-pleasing behaviors, which also is manipulative, And so I think that if you're somebody who is waking up from MAGA, and if you are questioning your place in the world, or like what to do next, or are the left are going to like me, I actually do think that you need to investigate why it matters that you need to be liked so much, and what could it mean if you could, allow yourself to do right, even if you know that these people on the left are still untrusting of you. Because at the end of the day, you are not trusted based off of your previous actions and behaviors. This like respect and trust building process does take time. And that's not to say that nobody's ever going to trust you, but I don't think that it's going to happen overnight. And if you are somebody who needs that immediate validation, that immediate showing of, okay, these people are with me, then I actually do think that there is some deeper work that you need to do that is actually separate from any of this political shit.
This is the head of Chicago ICE field office, Russell Hott. Russell Hott was to appear in court this coming Monday because she had serious concerns that the order that she made to not gas protesters without giving them a warning was not being followed. Coincidentally, Russell Hott was reassigned from his post effective immediately yesterday evening. He is now being reassigned and headed on his way right now to Washington, D.C. He has fled the state by order of the Department of Justice in order to avoid testifying in court. Judge Sarah Ellis says, I'm a little startled, frankly, that since Thursday when I entered the temporary restraining order last week, I'm getting images and seeing images on the news, in the paper, reading reports where, at least from what I'm seeing, I'm having serious concerns that my orders are not being followed. Then, of course, Assistant DHS Secretary Tricia McLaughlin had to clap back with, over and over again, law enforcement ordered these agitators to move off of federal property so the vehicle could move. Funny enough, the priest that we all saw get in the head by a pepper testifies that he hadn't seen any vehicles trying to leave that facility. Russell Hott thinks that because he can flee the state at the behest of the DOJ, that he's going to be able to duck out of his responsibilities. Well, that's not really how this works in the long run. That might be how it works now, but none of these motherfuckers have presidential immunity. So Russell Hott at some point is going to have to testify, whether it be Monday or at his own trial.
4 a.m. Club, I have a very important announcement about the future of our community. Do you remember a few weeks ago, I made a video where I said I was woken up by my spirit guides, Ebenezer Scrooge style, and I was told to have the courage to do the new thing. Well, ever since then, I've been doing some soul searching. I've been doing a lot of work trying to figure out not only what the new thing is, but do I have the courage to do it? Well, this is the first of several announcements based on that search. Now, at the time of that video, the TikTok fuckery was at an all-time high. I was being suppressed. I was having a lot of strikes against my account, and I was concerned that I would be thrown off here entirely. So I was looking at other ways to create community where our community couldn't be taken away from us. But I got to tell you, that put me on the struggle bus. I have been working through the technology. I have been working in my mind to find a structure and find a way that I could create this community that fit in with my talents and abilities, but did not overtax me. And I was failing. I was failing left and right. The main thing was every time I thought about creating community, I kept saying, what do you mean create a community? I did create a community. I created the 4 a.m. Club. And every day I show up on TikTok and YouTube and I run this show like a community. So the thought of having to do an additional community where I would need to put in more work, no, I cannot. I am already maxed as it is, y'all. I spend way too many damn hours on TikTok especially. But the idea to create a community was still strong. So what do I do? Well, the universe doth provide. You see, around the same time that I've been doing this exploration, and you might have noticed I updated my website, switched some things around the same time that I was doing this, someone very special was doing the same. That's right, my very dear friend, Nina Shine, also known as Nina, your witchy healer. Now, you guys know, she and I are good friends at this point, so we talk a lot. We support each other because we're both doing the same hyper-specific thing. We're healers, we're psychics, we're talking politics on TikTok. So it has been amazing to support each other through this, commiserate over all the bullshit. And Nina, it turns out, is creating a community. But not just any community. Nina is creating the Relaxed People's Army. This is a space for people who do not want to get taken down by the bullshit. This is a space for people who want to come together in their healing and work on regulating their nervous system, finding their calm in times of chaos, being in a position of power to not only ride out the storm, but work that bitch like a boss. These are my words, not hers. She's much more professional about the whole thing. Now, you guys know by now that I love promoting my fellow friends and creators in the 4am Club and beyond. This, of course, is no exception, but it also felt like the perfect solution. Because one of the things I was concerned about in creating a community is I'm aware of a lot of hand-holding. Oh Lord, I am aware of the amount of hand-holding it takes to run a successful community as a healer. I have created a space where we talk about healing. We make it okay to get into the grit and the intensity and the gross, icky feelings. And that's why I spend so much time on TikTok, because I'm doing my best to be in circle with you. Well, not only is Nina creating a space to do that, I think Nina's better at it than I am. Yeah, those of you who know her, I think you know. She's got the goods. If I were to create a community, it would be this one. And she's already doing it. And she's going to do it better than me. So if you are interested, please check out my good friend Nina. I've tagged her 2 accounts in the caption here. Now, Nina is also teaching a class on Sunday. It's about nervous system regulation. It's about healing in the real world and all kinds of other goodies. So if you are interested in that, please check Nina's profile. And I will also include a link if you're watching this on YouTube. I'll include it in the caption. Now, Nina isn't my only amazingly talented friend who has a community. So many of the other creators that I talk about and I boost, they have their own communities. And it's so funny because you know how I've been using the metaphor for months now that we're in the sorting hat. We're being sorted. And I've been talking about that energetically, but it feels like that's what's happening now. While so many of us are craving community, both online in circles that feel safe and we feel like we're connected with our people, but also in terms of what do we need right now? Where are we in our spiritual journey, our personal growth journey, and what teacher or guide or leader can help us find that? So, of course, I think it is absolutely perfect that I have so many incredible, talented friends who also have communities. And they are very specific to the needs of people who are going through an awakening journey right now. Some of these friends I've talked about often. My friend Sarah Treadwell, who runs the Great Awakening Collective. My friend Paula Taylor Energy, who has her own collective where she helps with energy work and various things. You guys know my old dear friend Jennifer Lisa, the Ethical Psychic. I believe she has a community. Spirituality with Sam has a community. Who else? I'm going to forget people. I feel like everyone has a community. And if it's you, and if you're watching this, and you're a member of the 4 a.m. Club, and you have an offering, please put it in the comments below. Back in the beginning of this, when I only had like 20 or 30,000 followers, my vision was to make it a space where we could all share our offerings, our gifts, and guide other people to those offerings. My account blew up so quickly, I wasn't able to really maintain that space. I have almost 150,000 followers. That's crazy. Which is also another reason that I don't think a private community is going to work for me. Not that every single one of those people are going to go to a private community, but even if some of you do, that's big. It's too much. I can't do it. So I'm going to stay here on social media and I'm going to point you to those wonderful, talented people. Take a look at their content. Take a look at their offerings and see, is this right for you? Now, there is one thing I am going to do for us, because no matter what TikTok does, I do want to always be available, which is why I do have a YouTube presence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look into turning on the community function there. I think it's as easy as flipping a switch, but I'm going to look into it just to make sure. The community function will give us a space to post, to share things with me, share things with each other. Sort of like Facebook group-ish, where you can write your comments there and have a dialogue under those comments. Now, again, I'm just testing this out because I need to know what I have the energy in the space for. So if this gets overwhelming, I'm going to have to shut that down too. I am one person, okay? I'm one person. And speaking of trying things out, a little bit of a secret, I am planning something new in the works. I'm planning a couple new things in the works, okay? Because when Spirit said do the new thing, I took it seriously. I'm going to do some new big things. One of those you already know about. 4 a.m. Con is coming. I'll have more about that later. That's still very much in the works. But another thing that you can see from me soon is I am going to experiment with running groups in a very small scale. Again, I will make a whole separate video on this when I have more details, when I'm ready to launch it. But the short of it is, I really want to get back into my depth as a channeler. I have done these absolutely incredible channeling events, and then I kind of put it in my shop and then move on. And I really want to get into treating those like the sacred transmissions they are. So I'm experimenting with ways to run small groups through a series of channelings around very specific events. And yes, with that, I'm going to create a message board community where we can engage those who are going through that series with me and with each other. We're going to create small communities around those events. So if it all works out, technology-wise, the way I want it to, it's going to be amazing. So I am so excited. I'm so excited. I'm excited for the ways that we're going to grow, the ways that I can grow along with you, and we can always create the space to be together in new ways that allow us to expand and honor how far we've come and make space for how far we're going to go.